this is looking at is you take the average over the whole class and you look at what the average amount the student learned, this learning gain. And what one sees, and this is a histogram showing the results from actually this average class from 16 different classes. What you can see here is that in the traditional lecture course, the average student never learns as much as 30% of the concepts that they didn't know when they started the class. And what you see in this data, and I have piles of other data that's unpublished, and because usually the faculty do worse than what's shown up here and don't want to have it seen in print. But this result shows up independent of lecturer quality, class size, institution. In fact, I think in here is Harvard University and a couple of community colleges, and you can see they're all in the same boat. That says that this kind of teaching is simply not effective for people learning, developing a basic mastery of concepts. We now have data from a variety of other levels, and we have data, similar kinds of data coming in from other disciplines that are giving us this same consistent picture. So this is saying this expert organization in terms of concepts is not coming through in the traditional approach to teaching science for most students. I will say that partly driven by this as well as other things, people then have worked on different ways to actually teach introductory physics, and I'll talk a little about those later, but they're now pretty consistently coming in with factors of 2 to 3 higher learning gains than with the traditional approach. But before I get to that, I want to turn to a very different aspect of learning. It really doesn't involve the content so much at all. It's this basic beliefs about the subject. And it turns out if you interview lots of people on their beliefs about, say, physics and how it's learned, you'll find that it lies on a novice to expert scale, where the characteristics of novices and experts are the novice sees the content of physics as just isolated little pieces of information, and you learn physics just by memorizing all these little pieces. This information is just handed down by some arbitrary authority and quite disconnected to from the world outside the classroom. And novice problem